Are you hesitant to borrow audiences from others, fearing you are taken away from someone else's success? How can you approach this strategy with confidence and collaboratively, ensuring it's a win win, not just for you, but also for the person on the other end, right? Today on Strategy Talks, we're talking about leveraging other people's audiences. Bear with me, I'll be right back.
Let's strategize together. Let's hear it from an expert. Join the conversation, it's informative and free. You and me, let's talk some strategy. Now here's your host, Dorien, Morin-van.
Hello, hello. My name is Dorien, and I am back with another episode of Strategy Talks. Today, we'll be talking about leveraging other people's audiences. If this is of interest to you, make sure you stay here because I'm super excited to talk to my guests. I want to welcome everybody who's here live with us, whether you're on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on YouTube. Welcome, welcome. And if you happen to listen to Strategy Talks as a podcast, you are welcome as well. And we really appreciate you sitting down and listening, or maybe you're walking and listening to us as a podcast. So thank you so much. Without much further ado, I'm going to bring onto the stage with me right now, Jennie Wright. She's a fractional CMO and she knows about leveraging other people's audiences. Welcome, Jennie.
Thank you so much for having me. Can we talk about that intro? Oh my gosh.
Yes, of course.
Wow. Did somebody actually recorded that for you?
Yes, my son, he's a very talented artist. He wrote it, he composed it, he produced it, he sang it. And yeah, I absolutely love that. It's
That was
so
fantastic. That was great. It gave me chills. I loved it. So.
That's great. All right. So let's dive in. We have 30 minutes and I'm so excited to talk to you, Jennie. You and I met when we were preparing for the Agents of Change virtual summit, correct?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah. I was the producer of that event.
Exactly. So let's talk about some of that. I'm sure will come up. And I love that we keep talking about Agents of Change. Rich Brooks's ears must be tingling because I just, had somebody on last week as well, Lou Bortone, who also spoke at that virtual event. So we're going to promote that. If you're in the New England area, guys, you've got to come to Agents of Change. Okay. All right, Jennie, a lot of entrepreneurs focus solely on growing their email list. But before we get into that strategy, let's talk a little bit about the bigger picture, right? Why is a strong email list so crucial for business growth, especially in today's market landscape 2024?
This landscape is like nothing I've ever seen before, and I've been doing this for well over a decade. The ups and downs and the variances that are happening, and just in the marketing world, what's happening with social, this one's working, this one's not, and so on. The one constant, and I think in the chaos that seems to be evolving, is your email marketing list. It's something that you consistently can grow. You can consistently obviously send emails to and contact and then convert. And because algorithms change on every social media platform pretty much at a whim, I swear they're all having an identity crisis right now. I don't think Instagram knows who it is right now. The result is you cannot trust these social media platforms to put your content out in the way that you had hoped, right? Everybody's getting throttled. If you're on TikTok, you're getting shadow banned. If you're on Instagram, it can't tell if it's like a Kardashian or not. We just don't know. But I can tell you with absolute certainty that your registrants for your email list, the people who subscribe, are there. And we all open email. Email's not going away. Nobody's, remember the days email's going to come and go and it's.
Oh yeah. I remember the days. I remember people talking about that. Yeah. That's not happening.
No, it's not happening. Email is never going to go away unless something new comes out that is going to revolutionize and it'll probably be embedded in our arms. But until that happens and until somebody figures that out, we're opening our emails, right?
All right.
And yeah, so that's never going to go anywhere. And I think that people need to sort of lean in to building an effective and really robust email list, and notice I didn't say big because the size really doesn't matter at all. And they should just focus on creating a lot of connection in that way.
All right. So I'm going to go off script and ask you a question about that. What? And I guess you sort of answered it, but if somebody says to me, I haven't seen any ROI from my email list, what do you say to that? Or how could somebody that's skeptical, how would you convince, I guess this is my question. How would you convince somebody who's skeptical about email that there is a true ROI from examples that you've seen and things that you've witnessed and people that you've helped?
That's a really great question. And there's something underlying beyond the email list that's actually the problem. It's not the email list itself. So most likely they have a niche problem. They're not attracting the right person, or they're not engaging that person properly. They're not, their lead magnet might be the problem, or the way people are getting into their list. They may not be consistent with the emails that they're sending. That's most likely one of the bigger problems. And then also the content they're sending, especially the subject line, is also potentially a culprit. So when I get into somebody's business, which I love doing, I look at all these different opportunities, right? And we have to evaluate it. I can't just say it's one thing, but to kind of bring a non-convert over to being an email marketing convert is that consistency will breed the additional opportunities and also bring sales. So if you're not consistent, get consistent. If your subject lines are crappy, improve your subject lines. Go use ChatGPT if you want, or Claude, or whoever you want in terms of the AI service, if that's what you want. And then change things up, right? So take away all the barriers to entry for you to be happy with your email marketing, and then become more of a student of the data, right? And don't look at it as like, oh, email doesn't work for me. It's never worked for me and I don't want to do it anymore. Look at it more from what are the opportunities and how can I improve upon it? And then lastly to this, I'd say if your email list is super quiet, I mean like dead, then you need to inject some life in it. It needs a Red Bull or a few. And there's a couple ways you can do that. You can engage them in different, like an online challenge. You could do all sorts of different kinds of stuff, but you should be trying to pump some life back into that before you just like walk away and say nothing. I've yet to find an entrepreneur that does not benefit from having an email list.
Okay. That's a great answer. I love that. Absolutely love that. So today's title right there on the screen, if you're watching this and if you're listening, is leveraging other people's audiences. Can you break down that concept and why that is an important thing to when we're talking about email lists? Because people are thinking, if you're not watching, you might be a marketer, an entrepreneur. If you're a marketer, you should know this. But if you're an entrepreneur, solopreneur, business owner, you're like, wait, I've got my email list. How am I leveraging other people's audiences? So can you break that down? Like, what are we going to talk about today?
We're going to talk about saving money and time. So if you are going the route of, or you're thinking about going the route of paid advertising, everybody knows this, that Meta ads and even Google ads are costing more for getting less, right? So I just ran a campaign a week and a half ago through Meta, and I was just like shocked. I mean, I got lots of clicks and all that kind of stuff that they tell you, but I wasn't getting the result that I wanted. And I sure as crap was not getting the ROI in terms of like my cost per lead. So organic warm traffic is always going to convert better than cold traffic. So if you want to save some money, find somebody who is in your niche or just slightly niche adjacent and connect with them and find a way to network and share your audiences in terms of, and here's examples, being a guest on their podcast is a great way to leverage other people's audiences, because that host of that podcast has spent the time and the energy to build that audience, and you get to go in front of them for free. Right? And if you're really good, then you're obviously going to say something at the end, like, come find me on my website or sign up for my freebie. And now you can convert people from them to you. So there's that. Speaking at online summits, another great way. I mean, that's where you can start to see dozens, if not hundreds of new people onto your list for just doing a 1-hour interview or a 30-minute interview and promoting on your socials and to your email list. It's very, very there's so little that you have to do to receive such an ROI. And then lastly is where you can do things like digital bundles, where you offer a product that is currently paid and you offer that for free inside of a digital bundle that somebody else is actually hosting. So they do all the work. You have 50 or 60 people in that digital bundle. They all promote. You pool the audience into one big audience, and then people start signing up for all the different offers for free. And you've grown your list. I was just on one. Oh my gosh, I was on one a week and a half ago. And for 10 days it was open, and I think I 300 new people to my list. And all I did was
cost you anything.
Cost me nothing. I filled out a form, I put in my gift, and I promoted it on my channels.
Nice. And
Yeah.
300 new leads.
300 new leads and a couple $100 in affiliate income. Not that that's huge, but I mean, I'm not going to say no to a couple $100 in affiliate income.
Right. So these are super interesting.
Mhm.
So I love all these ideas. So if you're watching, and whether you're a marketer and you're doing this for your clients, or you're a business owner and you're thinking about, growing your audience, which is a great way to get more visibility and to grow your business, right? To grow your audience. These are some great ideas. I love all of these, Jennie. Which is your favorite of the three? Is it the third?
Podcasting and digital bundles.
Okay. All right. I was just going to say the digital bundle. I could see your excitement as you're talking about that, right? Okay.
Yeah, but not everybody has that gift they can put into it, right? So that they have to think there's other ways.
Right. And let me ask a side question. Do you need to have a podcast to be on podcasts?
Absolutely not.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to put that out there. I agree. But if you're watching this and you're like, oh, I might in a year want to have a podcast, I'll start guesting then. I just want you to know, guest now, because get those relationships started now. And by the time you have a podcast, you can invite all of those people who had you on to your podcast. So make sure to get that started. Okay. Some folks might be hesitant to quote unquote borrow audiences, fearing they're taken away from somebody else's success, right? But how can we approach this strategy collaboratively and ensure that it's a win-win? That's kind of the hook that I started with, right? So if you're saying, I'm kind of worried, either you're the person that's worried somebody else is going to steal your audience, or maybe you're worried that somebody else is going to fault you for tapping into the audience. What is the mindset? I'm thinking this has a lot to do with mindset. What's the mindset you have to see that this is a win-win for everybody?
So how I approach this can be very direct, and I just want to warn people that I am very direct about this approach, okay? And I don't fluff this one. Get over yourself on that particular aspect, and now I'm going to be nice, okay? So I said the mean thing, now I'm going to be nice. When I mean get over yourself, I mean you don't do things exactly like anybody else. Your approach to supporting your clients is never going to be the exact same thing, right? So I have done list building and lead generation for a decade. And there are other list building and lead generation experts out there, but nobody does it just like me. And nobody does it just like you in what you do in your niche, right? You're specific, like you have a completely different approach that is tailored to you, meaning that you can collaborate together, right, with a lot of different people. I actually have my direct competition, which I say in air quotes because I don't believe in competition. I believe in collaboration, but I have my direct competition on my podcast because they do things differently than me. And also there's space for all of us. Like the size of the pool of people for potential clients in the online space far exceeds the amount of people that each one of us could handle.
So I love that. That's a great quote. That's going to be a short, guys.
So we get to share. And I think collaboration over competition is the way that we all get to grow. Like I'd rather collaborate with my fellow event planners and list builders and CMOs even, because they all approach it differently. And I'd like to be able to say, hey, I don't know what I'm doing here. Can you help? Like I am not, like with all true honesty, I am not a paid ads expert. If you know one, like great, hook me up because I don't, that kind of thing. And I think we need to shift the perception that we have to covet what we have when we share freely. Others share freely through sort of like the principle of reciprocity. And you actually do better, than if you just say closed off and not let anybody near you. You're not going to grow at the speed that the rest of us who are sharing quite happily will do.
I absolutely love that answer. And I'm going to share this with everybody else. English is not my first language. A lot of you who are listening and watching know this. So I learned this saying, rising tides lift all boats. And I love that. And as you're saying this, I'm watching the boat, I'm watching the tide rise. I'm like, this is what we're talking about, right? All of us together can grow our audience together. And I love that. No competition, right? Nobody is the same. It's unique thought leadership. If somebody copies you, my mother used to say, somebody copies you, that's a compliment. And I hate it when she said that. But I'm going to say it to you. If somebody copies you, that's a compliment. They're never going to be able to do exactly the same thing that you do. They might copy one of your tactics, but that might be it, But I absolutely love that answer. And Jennie, that is really great advice for everybody that's watching and listening. Okay. So let's get tactical. It was a great lead in for myself. Can you share a few concrete examples how businesses can leverage other people's audiences for list bidding? You talked about podcast guesting, joining webinars. How do you approach somebody for that? Is that a cold ask? Is that people in your network? Is that sitting back and waiting for them to come to you? Do you approach it? Do you make a strategy for that? Like, we're on strategy talks. Do you say this year, 2024 or 2025, I want to grow my list by 1,000. These are the things I have to do. How would you approach it?
There is a mindset about that. So first of all, are you an introvert, an extrovert, or an ambivert? Because that's going to sort of inform your strategy. And the reason I bring that up is because I'm an ambivert. So as a somewhat introverted person, reaching out to people is a little stressful. And then also I have a bit of a short battery life that when that battery, like I call it my social battery, and when it's empty, I retreat to my little happy place. However, I also know that reaching out and creating connections is essential for my growth. And so what I will do then is I'm very tactical about it. So I am not a spray and pray networker. I am very tactical. I go into the groups that I think will be beneficial. I connect with people that I think would be beneficial. Some of the best connections I've ever made in this space have been on LinkedIn. And LinkedIn is seeing its heyday right now. Okay. LinkedIn is having its, summer bod moment. Okay. Yeah. And everybody should be playing on LinkedIn, in my opinion. So I get a lot of my good networking off of there. And then additionally, I also pitch myself. So I pitch myself to be on other people's podcasts. So I took the time to write a pitch email, more than one of them actually, so they all sound a little bit different. And then I wrote out what I can talk about. So doing that pre-work is essential. So you want to make it super easy for somebody to say, yeah, I want you on my thing. So make it like Staples, easy button simple so that somebody can book you on their thing. So create your little pitch deck or create your little media kit with your picture and your bio and what you can do and have all that at the ready so that it's really easy to apply to podcasts. It's really easy to connect in these groups and start applying. So there's this group. I'm going to give you the inside tip on this. Okay. There's this group on Facebook and I'm going to try and type quietly and pull it up at the same time. I'm going to pull it up right now. And I am not a paid person for this. It's called Podcast Guest Collaboration Community on Facebook. It's got 63,000 people in it. Okay. And you can go into that Facebook group. And this is my biggest strategy. You go into that Facebook group, you post be a guest post. You put hashtag be a guest. You say you want to get into podcasting as a guest speaker. You want to talk about things. This is what you can talk about. Hit me up if you want me to be on your podcast. 63,000 people. Trust me, you're going to get some answers. Okay. Start appearing on people's podcasts and then asking them, do you know anybody who would like a speaker like me? And you start playing that game. And then you create an account on matchmaker.fm. No, it's not a dating site. It's a podcast matching site. Trust me, when my partner saw the URL in my URL bar, they kind of wondered. I had to explain this. This is not dating, my dear. This is literally for podcasting. And you start matching to be on other people's podcasts. Okay, so that's the podcasting side. You want to get on summits? You can do the same thing in that Facebook community. There's lots of people posting about it and also other places on Facebook. Go and look where people are talking about this stuff. And I'm telling you, LinkedIn and Facebook, and start just making connections. tactically. That's my tactical strategy.
And it's not, and I know, I love that you talked about pitching, keeping it simple, but having certain things. My biggest pet peeve at a podcaster, and I know you have a podcast too, is people that come to me with general pitches that obviously did not listen to my podcast, are either presenting themselves to talk about something that's completely not strategy talks related, or pitching somebody in their company or as a, podcast guest finder. They're pitching me somebody that, would not do well. I mean, I cannot tell you how many times I've got pitched pediatricians and doctors. I'm like, I'm in strategy talks talking about marketing and
Exactly.
business.
I can't tell you how many times. I mean, I have an inbox full of those emails where people are pitching me people, and they'll keep following up saying, "Hey, what do you think about having so and so?" And I'm like, "I'm not actually, but thank you," because they're not going to be a fit.
Right.
And this is, I mean, what you said is so perfect. It has to be a tailored pitch. It has to be authentic and genuine, and it has to not. I mean, if it's going to come from a team member, and that's fine if it does. I have somebody who supports me in doing a lot of those things, but it's still an authentic and genuine connection, and I am still involved in the process. So take a look at that and create. That's the best strategy, is not spray and pray, because spray and pray is, literally just hoping that if you do it for everybody, somebody's going to answer. That's not tactical in any way, shape, or form. Bring it in and only approach the ones that are actually going to make a difference. And for goodness sakes, if you have a book to push, which a lot of people do, does not mean you get on everybody's podcast. I'm not going to have you on my podcast if you have a cooking book. It's not going to happen.
Oh, really? All right. So let's talk about the next thing. So you get somebody's email address, right? You've gotten their audience. How do you keep, or how do you engage a new person? They might have heard you on a podcast. They might have seen you at a virtual event. How can businesses leverage that email marketing to build trust and rapport with that new borrowed audience? What should they be doing? And this comes in your expertise as an email expert and fractional CMO. What should people do? And what should we not do?
I have a tactical strategy here. So surprise. The first thing that I'm going to do is I always set boundaries and parameters. So the first email I send is, "I'm so glad you're here. Thank you so much," whatever you want to say. And then I tell them exactly what's going to happen and exactly what's never going to happen. I'm never, ever going to email you for XYZ and ABC, but I am going to get in touch with you once a week and share some really great stuff, examples of. And this is like my pre-newsletter series, right? And I say, okay, stay tuned for an email. About 48 hours from now, I actually wanted to do something really special for you. So just wait for that, right? And I'll send them something that they weren't expecting that is helpful, helps additionally solve the problem that they actually joined my email list for. Also, personalization is key. This is where you can go a step above and beyond if you want to. And I actually love doing this, is sending some personalized video. And it doesn't have to be super personalized. You can just do a loom and just be like, "Hey, I'm this is excellent. You're here. I'm here. I'm so glad. Thanks for being on, thanks for coming and finding me from the event. I'm really so glad that we found each other on such and such a summit or met at whatever. And I just want to make sure you have something great." So I'm actually building a lead magnet tonight for one of my clients because she's speaking tomorrow. And we're basically saying, "Thanks so much for attending blah, blah, blah conference. Here's a special gift." And she recorded a little video for them. And so everybody who joins is going to get that. So personalization is key, consistency, setting parameters and boundaries in your first couple of emails, I think, is always important. And then the other thing is that I don't do is I do not allow AI to write that first email. At all, because I don't have a problem with using AI as a tool for my email marketing, and I do. I'm not going to lie, I do. I use it in various aspects of my business. However, you need to connect, and that connection needs to come from the heart. However you talk, however you speak, and I think that's really, really important. And it doesn't matter if English is your first language or not. Doesn't matter. The way you connect with people is how they authentically see you. And I think it's the best thing you can do.
Absolutely love that answer. Thank you so much. That is a great way to build trust with borrowed audiences. to be honest, to set expectations, set those boundaries, and
Yeah.
let everybody know what to expect, right? So let's go to measuring success, right? So now you started off this session where you said, you're not talking about a big list, right? You didn't want you're not saying a good list is one that has a lot of people on it. So how do you measure success? Growing your list is great, but it's not the only metric. What
Go
should
ahead.
we be measuring?
The data. We should be looking at the data. Every email marketing system out there gives you a plethora of reports and information. And even if you're not a numbers person, this is where you need to have at least an understanding and a base knowledge of that so that you can understand what's going on. For instance, what's your open rate on your emails? What's your click-through rate on your emails? What's your unsubscribe rate? Right? To figure out how things are going and then make slight improvements. One of the things that I did, and I'll give you this trick, to lower my unsubscribes is at the top of my email in a like a 14-point script or a 13-point script. It says, you're receiving this email because you signed up to hear from Jennie Wright, either through my podcast Acquire or through another method, whatever. If you want to unsubscribe, here's the button. So it's right at the top. This is why you're here. You agreed to it. And if you don't want to, I wish you all the best kind of thing, right? And my unsubscribes dropped by like 30%. Because if you think about it, how many things do you sign up for, right? Or a lot of people sign up for a lot, right? And then you get the email and you're like, who the heck is this?
I still get those daily.
Yeah. So doesn't it make sense to say, hey, like, this is why you're here. And if, you might like just to rejig your memory. I don't know about you, but at this time in my life, my memory sucks.
Mm-hmm.
It sucks. So I have trouble remembering what I signed up for, and I'll get an email and yeah. So anyways, that's a trick. So data is really great. And then you have to get a little inquisitive and make some changes on things. So if your open rate is really poopy, which mine used to be at some points because, it happens, then you need to look at how you can make those improvements and things like that. So the best tactic and strategy for improving your email marketing and continuing to grow your email marketing is to look at past campaigns, past everything, and start to create a picture of what can be improved. And if you don't know how, take that data to somebody who can give you the support that you need to figure that out and then give you a plan.
Okay. What is we're at the last question, Jennie.
Mm-hmm.
What is the mistake that you see most often? What is it that people do wrong when they talk about email marketing and growing their list?
They lack consistency.
Okay.
That is it. It's a simple, that is the answer in fullness. You either are not list building consistently, meaning you're not promoting either a lead magnet, or you're not being consistent by showing up on other people's audiences, or you're not creating your own audience opportunity by hosting a podcast or by hosting a summit or by hosting a bundle or any of those things. So you have to do something consistently, or you're not emailing your list consistently. So if you set a consistent thing, so every day we wake up, we make our beds, we brush our teeth, we get dressed, we brush our hair if it's a good day, that kind of thing, right? Your list management should be a non-negotiable. Your list building should be a non-negotiable, because then you don't get the ups and downs and the arcs and the waves. You get this nice consistent thing. And then occasionally, by doing the right thing, you get the hockey stick, right? So you join a summit and you speak and you get 300 people, right? And you do a bundle and then you get another hockey stick. You never want the waves. You want like the consistent and then some uppy ups. That's how that works.
All right. I love it. Absolutely. How can people connect with you? If they're listen to you and you're like, oh my gosh, Jennie's amazing. I want to connect with Jennie. I want to grow my list. I want to borrow other people's audiences, right?
Mm-hmm.
How can they get in contact with you? Where are you most active? I heard you say LinkedIn. Is that the place?
I am very active on LinkedIn. I'm also like really social on Instagram, even though it's having its little midlife crisis. And you can go to jennywright.com as well. But honestly, just reach out to me on social media. Tell me that you saw me on the show, what a great show this is, and then let me know, how I can help, and I'll chat with you about it.
Awesome. Wonderful. Well, I appreciate you being with us today. If you made it all the way to the end of the live show, we appreciate you as well being here. And those of you who listen to Strategy Talks as a podcast, want to sign off by saying goodbye to you and welcome you back next week for another episode. Thank you, Jennie, for all your wisdom. This was a great episode. I can't believe we've never really talked about email marketing and list building specifically. So I love this topic and I appreciate you being here with me today. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Bye, everybody.